we're moving right through the what's next when you are selling a house. Today we're going to talk about the next step, which is probably after you've gone under contract, is an inspection. So let's talk about inspections. What do you think, Glynis? She doesn't like inspections. So after you've gone under contract, unless you have had a offer that you accepted that had in its present condition or as is box 3, you will most likely be having an inspector in your home. These are typically done, and again, it depends on what the contract says, between usually I've had one that was 3 days, which seemed really fast, but up to 10 days. 10 days is the kind of the general default, but you'll have in that time from when the contract is signed to whatever the contract says for inspections, the buyer has that time to allow to have inspectors come and check out your home. Typically the ones that they do is a whole house inspection, a destructive bug like termite and ants. They call it, what do they call it? I call it the bug inspection. They call it wood destroying insect inspection. Radon is one that they often do. Sewer line inspection, which is good. Sometimes they may do a structural engineer come and check things out. So, that's up to them on what they're going to pay for. You don't pay for any of that. The buyer is paying for that. They're coordinating that with me as your listing agent, and we will give you a heads up about when that happens. You should not be in the home during an inspection because the buyer is paying for that. It's their time. They're paying an inspector quite a lot of money to come in and really look over your home. It is very awkward for a buyer, and they're just not, it's not good for a buyer and a seller to be in that situation together. The buyer's agent will accompany the buyer and the inspector in the home during the inspection, whenever that's happening, and they will use the iBox or key that is provided, and we will know when that time is coming because they will set that up with me. I think it's very important for the house to be in as good of shape, clean, tidy, staged, still the way it looked when they came in and made the decision to put the offer on your house. They are still judging your house. They are excited because now they're under contract and it could be their house, or it should, hopefully, that the deal will stick together, that it will be their house after they pay for the house. But it's important for the house to stay as neat and beautiful as it was when they saw it last. And even though I know you're moving and you're boxing things up, if you haven't already moved out, really going through your home again before the inspection, making sure it's tidy, making sure it's clean, making sure if you are boxing things up that your boxes are out of the way, that they're in some type of organization, and that things are moved away from the walls in the basement, because they're really going to be looking at all that stuff. So make it easy on them. They're not going to move your stuff around or touch your stuff if it's not blocking things. So if you have more questions about that, obviously ask me, we'll talk about it. But they will be in your home for several hours during the inspection period and the inspections themselves. So making sure that your house is presentable and ready is very important during the inspections. So if your contract said that it is not in its present condition and it is no as is, it's normal, it's regular, they had 10 days to do their inspections, let's say, they do their inspections, all of them are done, then they will send me the inspection reports along with the inspection notice. The inspection notice will tell us what they want. So they will have listed all the things that they would like you to fix, or money that we would take off the price of the home, or out of like concessions that you might pay, the difference to that whatever it is that they needed, you'll pay for their closing costs or whatever. So it's either cash money or you fix it. So then we have 5 days to negotiate that back and forth. We can have our own contractors come in and give a bid, and you can have as many as you want. It just depends on how much time you want to put into that. I have loads of names that I can share with you. You may have your own people. You may just decide, we'll just give them some money to fix it, or you don't want to do any of that. you are in charge. You are the seller. I will advise you on what I think is the best solution to keep the deal together, but maybe you'll just figure out what you feel comfortable with doing, and we'll negotiate back and forth. We have 5 days to do that. At that point, it either is sold as is or the deal falls apart. And it can go either way. So again, that is if you do not have any type of addendum, as is addendum. If you have had box 1, they contractually cannot ask us for any concessions, or they cannot ask us to fix anything, and they can't make any changes. So that is what they've signed. Whether if they found big stuff like a broken water main or a broken sewer line, or if the inspector finds mold or whatever, if it's really big, sometimes buyers come back and they ask for some help in that. Sometimes they don't, but that is something that as a seller we may expect to see. But again, you have that option because there it is signed that says that they're not to do that. You can say no, and we can move on to the next buyer if there is one. If they have signed box 2, which means that they get to have the inspection and they will not make no changes, they don't have the option to walk in box 2. So they, again, won't be asking for anything, and they will lose their earnest deposit money if they walk. So that a little bit more, they're going to lose their money from whatever they paid for the inspectors to come out, and they'll lose their earnest deposit check. So they've gone into that really telling you they're probably honestly not going to ask for anything, and if they do, it's pretty big. So that is why that's so beneficial to a seller, and why we love to see a box 2. Box 3, they wouldn't have had an inspection anyway, so you could have skipped this video. So that's kind of the rundown on inspections. Again, everyone's different. We'll talk over each thing that happens with your own case and really dive closer into it. But that's kind of the gist of how the inspections work.